Black Ops 2 very often gets touted as the best Call of Duty, but if it came out today, a large chunk of the player base would hate it. The movement's slow, the maps are big, and the flashiest camo isn't even animated. Weak, right? There's a peculiar phenomenon where, despite most of us recognizing that the quality of Call of Duty peaked over a decade ago, many still hate any moves towards that older style. Yet they also hate any moves away from it, and simultaneously are more addicted than ever. Black Ops 6 might truly be brain rot, and Black Ops 7, this year's Call of Duty title, is rumored to be relying on remastered Black Ops 2 content, but with Omni movement and wall running. It sounds like it'll be trying to please two very different player bases simultaneously, but will probably just disappoint both. But, with rumors surrounding Black Ops 6 coming fast, I thought I'd record this video I wrote back in November and just got too bored with Black Ops 6 to finish. Keep in mind that much of what I talk about here will likely be present in Black Ops 7. Black Ops 6 is brain rot. Call of Duty as a whole has become brain rot, but let's focus on Black Ops 6 today. It's brain rot, and you probably already know that, but how? And why? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed Black Ops 6 for a little bit. It's far from the best Call of Duty game, but it's also far from the worst. The game has left me with many questions though, and the player base has left me with even more. So where do we even start? Well, let's look at 6 things about Black Ops 6. The maps, the movement, the perks, live service design and everything related to that, skill-based matchmaking, and finally, the absurd amount of hours people have been putting into the game. And still are, apparently. And there's a common theme you'll want to look out for, kids. Beyond just brain rot. 10 points to whoever guesses the theme first. Let's go. Everyone hates the maps in Black Ops 6, and that's extremely apparent by how Classified gets voted for every single time. But the player base is sort of why the maps are the way they are. The modern Call of Duty player base craves chaos. They crave Shipment, Rust, Shoot House, Nuketown, and now Stakeout in Babylon. And part of that is because of the camo grind, which I'll talk about in the last section. But the community craving the chaos is why the maps are the way they are. Small, no strong lanes, just suggestions. I mean, several of the maps are just squares, like Shipment, Rust, and Babylon. And I've said this before, but that's a problem. Shipment wasn't meant to be a 6v6 map, it was a 1v1 map. 6v6 on Shipment leads you to literally watching people spawn. Something that was very rarely, if ever, seen in older Call of Duty games, for a reason. However, in Black Ops 6, it happens pretty regularly. And that's not a good thing. Having someone see you spawn is about as unfair as it can get. There's nothing you can do about it. You may as well be playing against someone with wall hacks, and I'm not just talking about recon. However, the closest map to a classic 3-lane Treyarch map is probably Red Card, one of the more hated maps in Black Ops 6. But just think about it. Compare it to Raid real quick. Raid has 3 clear lines that connect in the middle and on the side of each spawns. It's decently large too. Now you go to Red Card, which has 3 clear lanes outside the stadium hallway, and the seating area, which connect in the middle and on the side of each spawn. So what is the problem? Well, it's just weirdly cluttered and jarring going from a map as small as Babylon to this. I mean, the entire outside section tends to get completely ignored outside of Hardpoint, and the cover out there seems like it was entirely placed at random. Whereas in a map like Raid, it seems like each piece of cover was deliberately placed with a purpose in mind, and various ranges and gameplay styles considered. Although with Red Card, I think the randomly placed cover isn't random at all. I think it's purposefully awkward to promote chaos. And no, chaos isn't the theme. But look at you using your thinking cap. So why is this being done? Well, my only guess is that chaotic maps somehow drive up player retention, and I say that because the designer of the map Raid made several maps for Black Ops 6. Skyline, which is probably the best map in Black Ops 6, but also Vorkuta and Warhead. Not very good maps in my opinion. I think you probably will agree. All of these maps, even Skyline, are extremely chaotic, with a dozen sightlines on every position. And I want to clarify that I don't think 3 lanes is a necessity. I'm not one of the people who's like, Treyarch is the only people who make good maps because they use 3 lanes. I think there were some good Infinity Ward maps that abandoned the 3-lane idea. But 3 lanes is a good template because of how well it works with all game modes, how well it flows, and how much easier it is to balance. Instead of thought out maps, we get chaotic squares and maps smaller than Nuketown. Brain rot player retention. I don't mind the Omni movement. It's a cool idea and it works well enough. However, the sprint speed Jumping and sliding all together is pretty absurd. Yes, it's a video game, it's fiction, but that doesn't mean you should throw plausibility out the window. More importantly, I think it makes the game less interesting. Positioning hardly matters anymore. Once upon a time, there used to be something resembling strategy in Call of Duty. It wasn't a lot. Call of Duty has always been Call of Duty, but it was there. SMG and shotgun players would stick to close quarters and work on breaking into objectives, while assault rifle and sometimes LMG and sniper players would hold medium to long sight lines and defend objectives. And now it largely doesn't matter. Everyone's flying around anyways. LMG and marksman rifles mobility are much lower than say an SMG, but they're high enough that I was able to use them just fine in close quarters when getting them diamond. There's very little reason not to just slide into a close quarter scenario with pretty much any weapon. When accounting for time to kill, sprint to fire speeds, and ADS speeds, you're looking at something within a 50 millisecond difference with most guns if you hit every shot. And the playing field levels out real fast when you start hitting slides because both you and your opponent are going to miss a shot here and there. And thanks to skill-based matchmaking, which we'll talk more about later, I often have higher latency than 50 milliseconds, but can still get by alright. And you know how this relates to Black Ops 7 is that, unfortunately, this mindless high-speed kill trading is all the foreseeable future of Call of Duty is. Modern Warfare 2 in 2022 cut back a bit on mobility and people threw an absolute fit. And Modern Warfare 2022 absolutely had problems, and large parts of it felt unfinished, but I think the mobility was mostly fine. And that comes from someone who always preferred rushing over other playstyles. SMGs have always been my favorite weapon class, but it's just gotten ridiculous. You're supposed to be a soldier, not some race car, parkour, Mirror's Edge type person. Recon is broken, right? I think we're all in agreement there. It's strong in a weird way that mainly results in ruining other people's streaks. You spawn in, see someone reloading through a wall, and kill them before they can get their gun up. Or someone with an SMG or shotgun sees you from behind and wants to get a bit closer, but you turn on them with that uncounterable Sixth Sense nonsense. Why would they want something so ridiculous in the game? Because it breaks streaks. A lot of changes to perks seem to be for the purpose of breaking streaks. You know, more examples are like how Flak Jacket isn't nearly as strong as it once was, and you can still die to grenades with it. Cold-Blooded no longer counters Tracker. Assassin's minimap marker now lingers longer and moves with the player, giving more information on people on streaks rather than just highlighting them. Dispatcher makes it easy to shoot down higher level score streaks with SAM turrets and Interceptor. And why do they do all this? Player retention. A good portion of the player base are absolute babies and rage quit the second their ED ratio dips below 1, which is also why ED is a thing instead of KD. The average KD is slightly below 1, but the average ED is a decent a bit above 1. And since I wrote the script, they've added even more perks, and don't even get me started on that, it's just a mess. Like, I have no clue what they're thinking in terms of balancing with it. You know, with perks like Vendetta, it really seems like the point of perks at this point is to just prevent streaks. So this video is sponsored by me. Do you think it was someone else? These are pretty good though. I should start a candy company one day. But yeah, I have a BeatStars account where I sell beats or instrumentals, whatever you want to call it. I think they sound pretty good and they're super affordable. So if you're a musician or if you just want to help me out, please check it out. It helps me a lot. So yeah, back to the video. Like most games now, it seems, COD's monetization model has become more of a live service model than a release-based model, focusing heavily on skins, battle passes, limited time events, and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes free-to-play completely at this point. The skins are already insanely over the top, and we're not into December. I wrote this in November, remember? But it's true. Things were already ridiculous in November. There's a sort of creep happening here where they constantly have to outdo themselves. Last year's shiny jingling keys aren't shiny enough. It's really just gotten to the point where if you stop and think about what's happening, the absurdity makes you feel a bit ridiculous for playing it. Like, it's supposed to represent like two special forces teams fighting each other on Earth in the 90s. And we got zombies, cyborgs, dragon people, and even Shark Boy and Lava Girl running around. Fiction is cool. There's nothing wrong with dragon people. But there's something important called plausibility that I've seen increasingly get thrown out of the window in fiction as a whole. You know, dragging people aren't particularly plausible in a setting about CIA hunting down blacklisted agents in the 90s. Without a ton of additional lore that would be alienating to people who liked the original plot. You get the point. But it's done because people buy it. And people buy it and the battle pass because their brains are rotted. And the battle pass is a feedback loop of brain rot. You have a limited time to earn what's in the battle passes, so drop everything else and play this game, rotting your brain to get the brain rot skins in the pass. And limited time events work the same way. And the really sad part is just how well all of this works, which we'll talk about in the final section. Skill-based matchmaking has been a controversial subject for years. I was first introduced to the concept with Advanced Warfare, but it's been a shadowy force in the series to some extent since the original Modern Warfare in 2007. Maybe even before that, as far as I know. However, the reason I first found out about it with Advanced Warfare is because it has been ramped up quite a bit over the years. See, some skill-based matchmaking can be a decent thing. It ideally helps low-skill players find matches that allow them to learn, and higher-skill players find fun, competitive matches. It doesn't actually work that way in practice, however, at least not with the amount of SBMM in Black Ops 6. Because of how strong it is, it's easy to exploit and easy to notice the differences when your exploit is working. See, back in Advanced Warfare, people would use Smurf accounts, low-level accounts that intentionally played poorly to get easier matches where, when the player actually tries, can then allow them to get insane clips for YouTube, or just the shallow satisfaction of going 104 against people who don't even know what's going on. And then the current trend is two-boxing, which works much like smurfing, but the account you do well on isn't the Smurf account. You need to have two systems running the game to pull this off, but with cross-compatibility, many people with the newest consoles still have older consoles that can run Black Ops 6 as well. Basically, that means two-boxing has been running rampant ever since the game released. Beyond ruining matches for low-level players and rewarding cheaters, skill-based matchmaking also sacrifices connection. If you do well enough, the game starts prioritizing matchmaking with people of a similar skill, regardless of connection. This can lead to well over 200 millisecond ping lobbies, which is longer than the time to kill of some weapons. Ping like that in a game as fast-paced as this is nearly unplayable. Personally, I watched my ping start at about 5 to 6 milliseconds when I first got the game, to averaging around 50 milliseconds, and I'm far from a top player. And by the way, it seems that if you quit the game for a while, your ping will be lower when you come back, as you can see from the gameplay, which were my first few games back in months. But I'm already back up to the 30s and 40s since recording it, and I bet if I was playing regularly for more than a month at a time, I'd probably be in the 200s. So why does Call of Duty do this? To keep everyone playing. Most people don't notice skill-based matchmaking. It's easier to notice when you're doing great or doing poorly than when you're just doing okay. And when you're just doing okay, it feels like you have a chance to do great if you just work a little harder, get a little better. But for the most part, no, that won't happen. Without anyone using exploits or cheats, your standard match in Black Ops 6 will end the same, with everyone having an ED ratio bit over 1, like around 1.2 to 1.4. So, even though it makes the game noticeably worse for many, and doesn't even protect the players it's supposedly intended to protect, they refuse to make an optional playlist without skill-based matchmaking. There's only one reason why they would do that, and it's not to make the game better. So, if you haven't figured out the common theme, you lose and are a failure and will always be a failure. Just kidding. The theme is player retention. They designed the game to keep you addicted, even if it means making the game worse. They don't care. The more people are addicted, the more eyes are on their addictive, shiny, jingling keys you can buy for $20 or whatever. So I work in game journalism. I was covering Black Ops 6 for the first 2 or 3 weeks the game was out. That means a good portion of my workday was playing Black Ops 6 for research, and that was followed by me playing Black Ops 6 after work for fun. So tell me why, or how, everyone I asked around this time had more hours put into the game than I did at any point. The people I was asking were just random people I was matched with, or random people on the internet. You know, very few were streamers or YouTubers, and none of those few that were large enough to make any significant money off of it. No, these were just normal people foregoing work, school, and sleep for weeks, possibly even longer, for this game. And it's not a small number of players. I noticed just how insane things were when I first matched with someone with Nebula camo and multiplayer in the second week the game was out. Dark matter was rare at this time. but it wasn't too crazy of something to see. It probably should have been, but it wasn't. Nebula, however, takes much longer. The fastest anyone has unlocked this camo, from what I can tell, is in around 90 to 100 hours. And it can easily take longer than that. That's more than a full work week of hours for 2 whole weeks, just toward unlocking that camo. And they had clearly played multiplayer a lot as well. Basically, this person was playing the game like a full-time job plus overtime, and they weren't sleeping to play even more. That's the only way the math adds up. And yeah, I kind of get it. I've always enjoyed unlocking camo since the original Modern Warfare. It gives you a reason to use a variety of weapons and provides fun challenges and a noticeable award. I've unlocked the mastery camos in multiple Call of Duties, despite it taking a decent amount of time in each one and becoming less and less interesting. But in a lot of ways, this is kind of all the game is now. I don't ever see people going for calling card challenges anymore, or focusing on wins, or even just goofing off. They're all too addicted to the camo grind, at least at my skill level, I guess. And I say grind because it's not even a challenge at this point. Most of the challenges are things that are bound to happen from playing the game, whether they're your goal or not. You can earn them passively, which is a strong sign of brain rot. It's not about skill, it's about time wasted. Now, I've never actually been the person to play video games for societal problems, but this might actually be a bit of a problem. Activision has put so much effort into keeping player retention high so that they can sell skins, that people are dedicating their lives to it. And if you talk to these people, it doesn't even seem like they're happy about it, as they'll almost always agree with you that it's not even the best game in the series. They're just addicted to the brain rot. I'm sure you can see how detrimental that could be. But what do you think? Is it brain rot, or am I overreacting? And are you looking forward to Black Ops 7? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe. That's it for me today, so yeah, see ya.
Race car, parkour, Mirror's Edge type person.